I talked about domestic climate policies, which was also implemented due to Paris Agreement between countries, right? So there are a lot of policies that are there, uh, which are ultimately called as carbon pricing policies. So here are a few examples of the same. So one is carbon taxes and cap and trade schemes. These are the two important carbon pricing mechanisms that you have to understand, remember, differentiate, because there will be 100% case study on this matter. Okay, what is carbon tax? What is the difference between cap and trade scheme and carbon tax? Uh, okay, so uh, as I said, carbon tax and emission trading scheme, also known as cap and trade, are the two primary methods for pricing carbon emission. Pricing carbon emission means we are putting a price on the uh, amount of carbon emitted in the atmosphere. Hence, we are putting a price on the polluter as well that they have to pay. So, carbon tax is imposing a price per ton of CO2 emitted. Uh, Economists favor carbon tax because um, we are forcing the emitters to pay for the social cost of their carbon. Okay, and it is already implemented in various jurisdictions, and the rates vary significantly. Okay, so we have to understand the difference between carbon taxes and cap and trade. Cap and trade is something like we set a total cap on emission and gradually lowering the cap. It is implemented in EU, a lot of places in EU. So, for example, we have place that the carbon will not there is a cap on carbon like 100. So all the companies that are emitting carbon have to emit not more than 100 carbon in their atmosphere. Okay, and if they are emitting more than that, then they have to do something called cap and trade. So there will be another company who will be doing emission less than 100 also, like 90. So they will purchase that much carbon from them, and then there will be a trading going on. So this is known as cap and trade scheme, and yeah, it is allows for trading. As I said, it is considered more flexible because we can trade permits as well. Both of these schemes aim to reduce carbon emission by incentivizing polluters to invest in cleaner technology, and while internalizing external costs associated with climate change. So, what they're doing is they're forcing countries, forcing the corporates to invest cleaner technology so that they can ultimately reduce their cost associated with emissions with both of these schemes. This is just a pictorial representation of cap and trade scheme. So, like this right hand side, the white line is the cap of, like, for example, 100. They have done less than that, so this much is the emission. So they're selling this yellow one to them, and then they are purchasing it. So this is a cycle that happens. This is known as cap and trade scheme. So now, what is the benefits and drawbacks of these schemes? So for carbon taxes, benefit is that it generates revenue for the government, okay, and which can be invested in climate change plans ultimately. So it is sort of a revenue collection method, which is ultimately driven towards climate change efforts. However, government can tweak this tax level in some countries, which can create uncertainty towards investors and businesses, affecting their long-term decisions. So, for example, if there is a country where there's a history that the country has changed their carbon taxes a lot of time. So, any investor that is setting up business in that country, which will be very uh, will pay much attention on this fact that the carbon taxes are very infrequent in in this country. There is no standardization. I don't know how much I have to invest in the future. So that affects the investment decisions as well. Then emission trading scheme. Emission trading schemes allow industries to successfully reduce emission, so that they can sell permits as well, promoting cost effective reduction. So if some country, some industry has successfully reduced emission way beyond their cap, then they can sell per cost effective reduction as well. And one more benefit is that there is clear property rights. Market rules are also clear for permits, and it can facilitate longer term investment decision, which is not in the case of carbon tax. However, uh, what can happen with this is that there can be a volatile carbon pricing that can happen, and there can be, like, everyone starts reducing the if everyone starts selling the permits, it can lead to financial crisis. There can be what is known as asset bubble. So there will be a lot of sellers, there will not be enough buyers, so it can create volatile shocks in the market, which can reduce incentives for emission reduction. So the company that had planned that I will reduce emission because I will get a financial advantage by selling, that will go for a toss. So that is the disadvantage of emission trading scheme. So the third part basically talks about what is the current status of this carbon pricing initiatives. So it says that 64 there are over 64 initiatives globally. 46 countries have carbon pricing initiatives in place. However, many of these initiatives have carbon prices below 100 USD per ton. So what uh, World Bank says that for having effective carbon pricing mechanism to actually show effective reduction, the cost should be equal to or greater than $100 per ton, which is not the case. Most of the countries have less than that. So yeah. Any questions on carbon pricing? Oh,
Asta, hi, Akshay here. I've got one question. I'm not sure if this is a part of the GARP SCR or not, but I'm just curious if there is a way we could find out the total caps or how the total caps are set in the emissions trading schemes.
okay. So EU has a very historical cap and trade scheme like in place. What they like, I don't remember exactly what is the capping currently, but how they do is that they have aligned their cap and trade scheme with their national determined goals. Like, for example, if they have set that to reduce to reach 2 degrees Celsius goal, we have to have cap as 100, and then they have to reduce that 100 to 50 to 30 to ultimately reach net zero or 1.5 degree goal, whatever they want to do. So it's not that they have set 100 and that will be 100 for all the time. So they always reduce it so that there is always more reduction that is happening. But if you want to read more on UCAP, I can share. There are some good videos on cap and trade scheme. I can share that with you.
Okay, great. Yes, thanks for the explanation.
All right. So apart from these cross-sectoral carbon trading, carbon pricing policies, there are certain policies that are sector specific. Okay, so like now we will understand about power sector related policies related to carbon, and there is also talk about transportation sector. So there is in power generation, there are renewable portfolio standard, that is one, and then there is feed-in tariff. So RPS is an umbrella term for quota-based regulation to increase renewable energy by requiring power producers to source specific portion of the renewable energy supply from renewable source. So it basically is that RPS, Renewable Portfolio Standards, is a term for a lot of regulations, quota-based regulation. That, for example, there is a power producer like Tata Power. There can be uh, what are the other power players? Adani, yeah. Tata Adani, they have to produce certain part of their energy supply as a form of renewable energy source, which is also uh, implemented in India also. That is a regulation in India as well. So that is known as renewable portfolio standards. This is for commercial power producers. Okay, so remember which standard is applicable for which player as well. So RFPs are implemented in 173 countries, and it is named differently, like renewable obligation. In India also, it is known as RPO, renewable purchase obligation. So like that. Then there is feed-in tariff. So feed-in tariff is basically that guaranteed price per unit of electricity generated, which producers can sell for a fixed period of time. Sometimes it's simply okay. So feed-in tariff is basically that guaranteed price per unit that the producers can sell. So the price of that unit electricity generated is fixed, and sometimes this is set by the policymakers. So, for example, you must have heard that tariff in India is different for farmers, for commercial players, for residential purposes. Prices is also different based on the time of the day. So prices are different in the night, prices are different in the evening. So that is known as feed-in tariff. So this is how they have uh, uh, formalized the different ways on regulation with respect to power sector.
So one question there, on feed-in
Yeah.
tariff. So basically, it is for fossil fuel also. Whatever electricity is getting generated through fossil fuel. So feed-in tariff can be applied to that also, because I don't think so. For 15 or 25 years, you can settle for one single price.
Yes, yes. So this is globally. In India, it is not the case. Generally, like for example, there's a mechanism called a green tariff also, which is a sort of renewable energy that you're purchasing. Similarly, we can purchase brown power, as you said, non fossil fuel as well. Generally, in India, it is maximum 3 to 5 years. That's it. Then we have to redo that agreement with the DESCOM or the DISCOM that is there. So it differs from country to country. Even it differs from grid to grid or the DISCOM level as well. Here it is given general basis. Yeah. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah. Ask one question, Akshay. Here. Sorry, Prashant, do you want to complete?
No. I just wanted to understand, means it is for both fossil fuel and as well as renewable.
Yeah, it is for both. Like for example, in fossil fuel also there are different types of fuels that generate different types of emission. So a coal power will be more emitting than natural gas, nuclear based, hydropower. Hydropower is renewable anyway. But in renewable also there will be different types of emissions. So yeah, it is for all types of power generated. In book also it is not differentiated for only green power.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Asta Akshay here. So my question was, how is this related to incentivizing the greener power? Is it by allowing the power producers to sell at a certain price, and that's why be able to procure greener power even if it is a bit more expensive, or how does
Yeah,
this
yeah.
incentivize?
So they offer a guaranteed price per unit. So like for example, let's take solar, for example. Solar was expensive in the past. Okay. So if somebody has gone into, like if a Tata Power has gone into contract with some IT company in 5 years back, saying that you have to give me 10 rupees per unit as a feed-in tariff for 5 years, they will get 5 rupees per unit till 5 years, even though the solar cost has reduced to 1 rupees as well. So that's how they incentivize the generator. Sometimes it is also for brown power, but mostly currently in India it is done for green power only. That's how they incentivize a power producer to generate or they sell green power.
Understood. Yeah. Thanks. That helps.
Yeah.
What is this
Then
contract for difference approach? Last word.
so contract for different approach is basically so like I said, sometimes the price per ton is determined by between the parties. Sometimes it is determined through market-based approach. So in UK they have this approach mechanism for like they let the market decide. So like for example in India we have IEX, uh, energy exchange in India where the prices are determined. They also have that. So for example, it's like share market. Like I have booked one thing 3 years back for this price. I will get that price that now also, even though that price has risen or shortened. So yeah, I hope I'm able to explain it in my understanding. But it's basically that you will get your price what you have signed for, even though there is a difference in the price now.
Okay.
Okay. So going further, for transport sector is basically having regulations which promotes emission reduction. Okay, like for example, EV purchase subsidies to encourage uptake of electric vehicles. In India, we have FAME 1, FAME 2, which encourages even the companies who produce vehicles to produce EVs, also the buyers to purchase the EV. We get subsidies. Similarly, there is fuel efficiency standards in many countries like USA, European Union. In India also we have Bharat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So BS1, yeah. So fuel efficiency standard is saying that the fuel that you're using in your cars or transportation has to have certain level of less emission. So that's how they are promoting the whole system to use less emitting cars and transportation, and also incentivizing the whole EV ecosystem also. This is just an example. Yeah, then this is directly taken from the book itself. So this basically talks about different sector related policies for emission reduction. You have to remember which is cross sectoral and which is sector specific, and what is sector specific. Look, like for example, the question will be asking for transportation, and they will give an option for building efficiency requirement, which will not be relevant to that question that is asked. So we have to remember what is given in the book. For example, carbon tax, it is cross sectoral. Emission trading scheme, it is also cross sectoral. Anybody from any sector can purchase the emission reduction credits. Renewable portfolio standard is for power generation, as I said. Automobile fuel efficiency requirement is obviously for transportation sectors. Fuel tax, transport and heating sector. So fuel tax is something that it can lower demand for fuel or be used to incentivize use of dirtier fuel. So like for example, fuel that is petrol or diesel will have more tax than a fuel called biodiesel, something like that. And building heating efficiency requirements, this is for building sector. This too is something which is not really talked about in the book, but it gets asked, which is already written here. So please remember it. A ban on burning peat bogs or wetlands, agriculture and land use. So wetlands or peat bogs is basically wetlands, peat bogs. How do I explain? Uh, like in agriculture or in forest, you will see long, huge spaces where there's only leaves and there's only uh, a good soil and there's only forest and all of those things. And those are wetlands also. So they store a lot of carbon. Okay. So sometimes some companies they burn those peat bogs for land management purposes, but it is banned. Okay. So this ban that is put is a sort of policy for emission reduction for agriculture and land use sector. Then green or low carbon public procurement. So this is basically that government can use their purchasing power to opt for greener and sustainable alternatives. It can be in public sector, public transport sector, so that they can promote these technologies as well. It can be transport, building, and others. So this is related to that. If government itself is promoting electric buses, so that promotes electric vehicle in general, the ecosystem. So that is a policy which is known as green or low carbon public procurement. So please
We need to
remember
remember
this.
all of them.
Sorry.
We need to remember all of them.
Yeah, only this 5, 6 are there. So I already explained carbon tax, emission trading, renewable portfolio standard. Only things that are not was there anywhere else was building standards, this ban on wetlands and public procurement. So just remember these 3 things. Rest all you have already learned previously, because it will be asked.